Great. Well, thank you all, folks. I know it's a working day, but thank you for making time to attend this particular session. This is actually hosted by 3 groups. One is the Slack community group in Malaysia, and then our marketing cloud groups across Brisbane, Australia, led by Cameron, and myself in Cyberjaya, Malaysia. And we have a very exciting topic for you today. It's like we're both marketing cloud enthusiasts, so we also get to play with the new collaboration tool that Salesforce acquired, which is Slack. So we wanted to bring in the some great features that we discovered. So Cam here has been playing around with for a while, and he wanted to share how to use Slack API integration with Marketing Cloud. So without much further ado, I will let Cam introduce himself and then go ahead and kick off the session for today. Right, over to you, Cam.
Lovely. Thank you, Shabu. So, hey all, my name is Cameron Robert. I'm the Head of Technology at Datarati. We're a Salesforce partner here in Australia. I'm also the community leader for the Brisbane Trailblazer group. I'm also a champion for Marketing Cloud, just like Shabu, and I also do a number of other things in the Marketing Cloud space, including supporting the How to SFMC community group. I've also got some blogs and YouTube videos. So you can probably tell I love Marketing Cloud, and I spend a lot of my time doing it. And through that time, I've had some fun with Slack APIs as well. And thanks to Shabu's invitation today, I'm going to share with you some fun things that I've found. Now, I'm just going to get my screen share up and running because I want to show you what we're going to be going through today on this practical demonstration. So if you haven't got your Marketing Cloud open, do so for me because we are going to be going through and doing some things on Marketing Cloud. So it'll be really, really useful if you have your Marketing Cloud open. You can follow along at home that way. So I'll just make sure this comes through okay. And I think you should all see YouTube up and running, I hope. I'll just check with Shabu. That's coming up on your screen, is it?
Yes, we can see it.
Beautiful. So this is how it all started. A couple months ago, I made a YouTube video and I copied the link. I'm going to put it in the Slack conversation, in the channel here. There we are. It's a video. That's what started it all. I was playing around and I found this useful API where you can actually connect Slack and Marketing Cloud. And what you could do with this API is you could send a message to Slack from Salesforce. So you could do things like if an automation completed, you could send a message into your Slack channel saying, hey, automation completed. And if it failed, you could do the same thing too. You could find an automation and send a failure message into your Slack channel. So pretty useful stuff. But I thought, let's not stop there. Let's see what else we can do. Now, the API method we chose to use for this video, which you can go and view at your own time, is not the same one we're going to do today. So you can go ahead and watch this video and follow along with this video in your own time. But for today, we're going to do 2 things. The first we're going to do is going to show you how to build a dad joke endpoint in Slack using Marketing Cloud. It's going to be using this lovely endpoint called ICANN dad jokes. The link is in your channel now in the chat. This is an API. It's a very, very simple API. It allows you to use text and JSON formats. And I love to use this API to test out endpoints. It's super easy to use. It's free to use. There's no authorization required. So it's super, super simple. We're going to use this to test integration from Slack into Marketing Cloud and then back into Slack. And once we've proven that's going to work, we're then going to upgrade and we're going to go and build a data extension row counter, which means that from Slack, we can ask Slack directly in a / command inside of Slack, how many rows a data extension has from Slack. It's going to ask Marketing Cloud how many rows a data extension has and give you back that number. So pretty useful little tip. Of course, you can take this and you can use it yourself. The codes you see on your screen are in my gist, which I'm going to put the link into the chat as well. There it is there. So all the codes we use today are all at your disposal. And feel free now to follow me along as we go through these 2 use cases. Firstly, making a quick dad joke. And secondly, making a data extension row counter. So for today, all you need is Marketing Cloud. We are going to use a cloud page. We're going to make a cloud page collection. So if you don't mind, make yourself a new collection, call it whatever you want. But you can see here we've got nothing existing. You also need the Slack API. Now, you do have to be logged into Slack. You do have to go to the api.slack.com and you can go to this page and then we're going to press the create an app. When you're logged in, you press create an app. It takes you to this page here. And it says you'd like to create an app. Well, yes, we would. From scratch, thank you very much. And this app name is going to be called SFMC Dad Joke. Because why not? And I'm going to do this in the How to SFMC group. which is the community you can all join as well. Go to howtosfmc.com, .com, and you can sign up to our How to Marketing Cloud community. Now, with our app name and our workspace selected, we can create our app. And that's it, done. The app is now created, but it doesn't do much. We have not authorized for this to do much just yet. What we are going to do, though, is make our app. We're going to give it the ability to use / commands. You'll probably use the / commands in your stack, in your Slack stack already. You can use the / GIF or / Jira. I think we can also use Confluence and other things. So the / commands allow you to integrate and perform actions in your Slack. We're going to make a new / command. So in our new app, I've called mine SFMC Dad Joke. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to go to / commands. I'm going to create a new command. And the command I'm going to create is whatever command I intend to use for this app to initiate the function. So I'm going to make it dad joke. So when I type in /dad joke, it's going to initiate the command. And here's where we need to use a request URL. And this is to say that when an end user in Slack types this in, where am I going to send the request to? I need to send it to somewhere. A post is going to be sent somewhere. What do we need? Well, we need an endpoint to send to. So we're going to make a cloud page to send to. To do that, we're going to jump into Marketing Cloud. We're going to make ourselves a new endpoint. So in our brand new collection here, called our Slack integration, we're going to make a new code resource. The reason we choose code resource because code resources have no headers, and they also don't cost anything. There's no impression cost on a code resource. I'm going to call this one dad joke as the name. And for the type, I can choose JavaScript or JSON. I think I'm going to choose JavaScript for this one and go save. This will create my cloud page content for me. There it is there. I should be able to open up this classic code resource. I'll have a lovely blank screen. Now, once you've got your cloud page created, we can now start to put some code in, our new endpoint code. Now, to do this, we're going to use the code I provided on the gist here. So we're going to use the dad joke cloud page SSJS to start with. If you click on that code, you can see here's the code. Here with some instructions at the top, make things a bit more easy, but we just need this SSJS code here. So I'm going to talk you through what this code is doing so you can feel comfortable with what this code is going to do on your instance. Paste it straight in there. So what we're going to do is we are going to initiate a server-side JavaScript script box. We're then going to load, I always have the load core in there. And then we are going to make a GET request, which is a documented request type for the ICANN dad joke endpoint. So it says here that we need to do there's no authentication required. We're going to make a GET request, and we're going to get to this URL. And the response should be a JSON payload, which has the ID, the joke, and status. Cool, that's the payload that comes back. So our GET request, we're going to ask for it to return in JSON format, exactly as our documentation here says, that we want to accept JSON format as a response. Good, we'll get that response to come back. And once we have that response, we're then going to pass the response into JSON. So we need to get those objects from the payload. So we'll get our response. There's a response there. Get the response, get the content of the response, and then pass it into JSON, which creates our JSON object. We are then going to get the joke component of the JSON object and simply write that out. We're going to print it on the page. So print out the joke. So when this page initiates, it's going to load SSJS, make a HTTP GET request to the ICANN dad jokes, returning back a JSON payload. It's going to take that response content and pass it using pass JSON into a JSON object, a structured object, which we can then isolate the joke component, which our documentation says. Oops, here's the documentation. The joke content to return back the content of that joke. And we are going to then write that content out. Done. Pretty simple stuff. So with that, I can then schedule and publish my dad joke. Now, what I can do in the meantime to make sure this page is rendering properly, to make sure the content comes back properly, I can load up this page. Good. A text string comes back out. To make sure it's random, I can press that page again. terrible dad jokes, of course, but we get a text result that comes back. Good, good, good. So now we know every time this page is initiated, it responds back with this text. This endpoint is now working. So we can copy our cloud page URL here. We can copy that link address. We can quite simply go into our Slack API, that request URL that we said, hey, Slack, here's where you're going to send this information to. We can now take it and paste our cloud page URL. So here's mine. If you've got your SAP installed, you'll of course have your brand name as your subdomain, as your prefix. If you don't, then you'll have what I've got, which is just the standard Stack content. But that's the request URL. That's it. You paste that straight in. And so Slack, when someone uses this / command I just invented, it's going to request this URL and return back the content on this URL. Now for the description, get a bad dad joke. Easy. That's what's going to do. So with that done, I can save my / command. I've got my cloud page, I've published it, it's all there, I've accessed it, I've proven that when I hit refresh, I get a new joke every time. Good, so the page is live, it's all working. Got my dad joke API with / commands enabled. We're looking great. So all I have to do now is make sure that it's all installed and ready to go. I have installed it to my workspace. Yep, it's on the how to SMC. I'm going to allow, and now it's going to install this onto the workspace. So click basic information and install your app. You can see what tick, which means that the functionality has been done, the app's been installed. So I should now have, if I go into my Slack, what I'll do is I'm just going to bring my Slack window over onto this screen. And I should, if you can all see that, I hope I'll just get a nod that that's coming through so far. What I should be able to do is go / dad joke. Hey, there we go. There's my app, the SFMC dad joke app. Yeah, that's it. With this / dad joke, which is what I did, and my get a bad dad joke as my description, that's it there. Press enter. A panda walks into a bar and says to the bartender, I'll have a scotch and Coke, thank you. Sure thing, the bartender replies and asks, but what's with the big paws? The panda holds up his hand and says, I was born with them. Because a panda has big paws. I do not guarantee the quality of these dad jokes. However, we've now proven that we can make a / command dad joke. That's what I called it, was dad joke, and press enter. And I'll get a new dad joke back every time. And because I installed this on the How to SFMC community, I'll ask Shibu, can you check to see if you have access to this app yourself in the channel as well?
Let me try that out, Cam, just a second.
So anyone else too who's on the How to SFMC community group, if you're not, Google it, you can find the links and you can join in to the community. We've got almost 300 members across the world who are very keen users of Marketing Cloud. We're all here to help each other out. So feel free to join. And I can see there from, yep.
It's working, yep, I can see it too.
Hey, beautiful, so there you go. So because this app is on my instance, when you are calling this app in the How to SFMC community group, it's calling to my endpoint in my Marketing Cloud instance to return back this dad joke API. So pretty cool stuff, pretty good start there. Obviously, I wouldn't want to publicize this and have people consuming these APIs on my behalf, but as a bit of a proof of concept there, you can see it's a pretty easy way to make a / command, dad joke. The guy walks, two guys walking to the bar, one ducked. So again, I do not give any warranty to the quality of these dad jokes, but how cool. We've proven that we can write an API to go from Slack into Marketing Cloud to a cloud page. That cloud page cannot just do things itself. We can make this cloud page go and make further requests. You could hit up your CRM. You could hit up all kinds of APIs and third-party services to return back some data, to literally write that data out onto the page and then have that response. Whatever that response is on this page is what's going to be sent back through the Slack API back as the response. So we've proven this all works. Now, I don't expect you all to go running away now and building dad joke APIs for your business. I'm sure it's not going to make anyone too much money. Maybe some people, depends what industry you're in, but let's make something a bit more functional. Let's instead go back onto our gist and we'll use our second use case for today. This one's going to be to make our data extension row counter. So what I'll do, I'm going to go back on my cloud page. I'm going to make a new cloud page, a whole new one. I'm going to make another code resource. This one's going to be my DE row count. And this one, I'm going to try the JSON file type. I'm pretty sure you can use JSON as well, but we'll try both. The first one was a JS code resource type. This one's now a JSON type. The difference should be nothing because they don't send headers, these file types, which is great. But here we are with a blank JSON code resource. I've called this one DE row count, as that will be our function for today. I'm also going to go out of my app here. I'm going to leave this app and make a new app. So you can use that little drop down if you want to, or of course you can also just return to the api.slack and go create an app. You can do that as well. I'm going to create another app from scratch. This one's going to be SFMC DE row count. You can of course be much more eloquent with your naming of your apps if you like. And I'm also going to choose my how to SFMC. Good. All right, now we'll use the same thing this time. I'm going to use the slash commands again for our row count function. The reason is, for this use case, I want to make an app that's going to be in my Slack workspace. And I'm a bit lazy. I don't want to log in every time to Marketing Cloud just to count how many customers are in my customer DE today. That's a bit too boring. It's my little instance, and I'm always working on customers or other accounts. I don't want to have to keep switching contexts just to find out how many rows are in the DE. I just want a really simple API where I can just question Slack how many rows are in this DE. But not just the one DE. I know the name of this one DE. I might want 3 or 4 DEs. I might want a few DEs that I want to count the rows of. So I want some way where I can provide an API endpoint, a slash command, to say I'm going to trigger this function, which is to count some rows, and then to give it a variable. And this variable is going to be the name of a data extension that I want to look for. So it could be your customer DE, your business's DE, your stock, your products DE, whatever DE you want. I want to provide that as a variable in my slash command and have the Slack API ask Marketing Cloud how many rows are in this data extension. And if I spelt the data extension correctly, it'll do a row count and give me the rows back. If I didn't spell it correctly, it won't throw an error. It'll say, whoops, sorry, couldn't find that DE. You might have spelled it wrong or something. So I want to make this kind of little function for myself. So we've made the app. It's called our SFMC row count app. We use slash commands again. And we're going to use a new command. And we'll call this one DE rows. That's pretty simple. It can be whatever you want. You can, of course, call it whatever you want, but for the slash command, we're going to use DE rows. Now, again, we need to make an endpoint. So I've got here my DE row count, my blank JSON code resource. I'm going to go into my gist and get my Slack row count here. And I'm going to pick up this code and I'm going to walk you through what this code's doing. All right. So like before, we're going to open up our SSJS code, followed by loading our core library again. Next thing we're going to do is, because this API, oops, I can close that one down now, this one here, it's making a post request, right? So it's a post request is what this function does. And luckily for us, whatever you put on the end of this slash command, the documentation is great, by the way, for the Slack API. So you can search these slash commands API information, and you'll return back how it works. But essentially, it sends through any text that is after the slash command. So any usage hints you want, so anything that's after the slash command, it sends back as a separate little payload called text. So if I typed in slash DE rows space and then some text, this is the text variable that's going to come through as part of that payload. So the first thing I want to do is get form field, which is the SSJS function to get a post payload and pick up that value, the text value. I'm going to initiate a WS proxy, which I think I'm using, to then search for, using a filter, I'm going to find the name of a data extension where the name is equal to the parameter, which is the text value. So search for whatever value I sent through. It's then going to retrieve the data extensions. So get back the details of that call to see if it exists. And so if, when we do our proxy retrieve, if the length of results of that call is greater than 0, then it found something. It was able to find that data extension name in my business unit. Good-o. And if it found it, then good. It's a real data extension, which means I should probably save the name of that data extension as a variable. I'm then ending SSJS and doing some AMP script. I'm going to use the data extension row count AMP script function to get that DE name, which I've saved here, get that DE name and get the row count for it and save that as count. And I'm then going to set a response, which I'm going to say the data extension, which is called this data extension name, has this many records in it. So using the count variable, which I set here from our count data extension row, using the count DE name, which I got from the params value, which is the text name of that value I sent through, to produce this response, which I then save and I print out, I write that response. So just like our previous page wrote the dad joke, this is going to write the response, which I built here with this concat function as the positive response. Great. But what if else the length was not more than 0? It could not find a DE with that name. Well, in that case, I'm going to write error, could not find a DE called, and the name. I put square brackets there too, just so you can more easily see it, because this will allow for data extensions with spaces. So just put a little square bracket around it so it's more easy to read. And then of course we end our if statement and we close off the function. And that's it. Just a few lines of code to achieve a lookup. Great. So I can then save my page and publish it, which will give me the published URL. Published, beautiful. Now, if I go to this page organically, it's of course not going to work because there's no retrieve call that can make. It has to use a post function. So we need to copy this link. We're going to put that link in our Slack API as the request URL. There it is there. The short description, we can say here, searches for, returns, should I say, the row count for a DE. And usage hint, type the name of the DE you want to search. How good. All right, so that's it. I'm going to do this DE rows. I'm going to save this now, put my nice little usage tips in there for /DE rows. I'm going to save. And now I've created that / command, which will achieve this function. Now for my row count app, I could make additional functions if I wanted to, and I could make additional cloud pages and add those additional cloud pages as additional / commands. So I could have a row count. I could have an enterprise or a shared data extension row count. I could have any other kind of functions I want as individual commands. I could make whole new commands within this one app. So you don't have to make a whole new app for every single function. But of course, if you wanted to make this one app, and you can deploy this one app against one instance, one workspace, probably for security reasons, you wouldn't want to deploy it in a public workspace, but it does give you this ability to make more apps or more / commands if you want. So with that in mind, we now made our /. Let's now go to our basic information and make sure we can install it. I'm going to install it on the How to SVMC community. Oops, I've got too many apps installed, so I might have to go back and uninstall my other app. So maybe if I go to my dad joke, I might have to delete this app. So I can then install my other one. All right. Oh dear. That's all right. I think we might have ended our maximum number of subscriptions, unfortunately. Whoops, that we can have in that one workspace. So let me just quickly check if I can disable it. You might take a second for the one to go. I'll just check, Shibu, if you do have an app on there as well, I might get you to uninstall yours, and I'll just make sure that I can deploy my one so it works okay. There we go. So it's just taking a second to update. So now we can perform activities. Good, allow, and the SMC row count should now be enabled. Lovely. So what I'll do now, I'm just going to bring my screen back across, and here we are. That was our dad joke. Now we're going to try our slash, was it DE rows? There it is there, slash DE rows. Now I need a data extension to look for. And if I was to type in CAM, nope, I've got no data extensions called CAM. What a shame. So instead, let's duplicate this tab. We're going to get ourselves a data extension name that we definitely can count. I'm sure we've all got those same default data extensions. Some of those ones in our data extension folder. But let's take a look. This won't give you the records back. We've not told to do that. Of course, you could, if you wanted to, return back records. So you could do a subscriber lookup. You could do a email send results lookup. Think of all the things you could do with this. I've got one called CAMDE. There you go, so close but so far. So I've got CAMDE. So if I go into here, I go slash row DE rows and CAMDE. Do me a favor, Shibu, if you could you do slash DE rows and put CAMDE in for me as the name? And can you tell me what result you get back?
Sure.
So Shibu is also on the same workspace, so he can use the same function. I'm not showing the rows on my screen, it's hidden. So how many rows are in the CAMDE? Slash DE rows, CAMDE.
Okay, do you want me to give it a count?
Yep, how many you got?
Yeah, 1.
1?
Yep.
Hey, look at that. How fun. So this is connecting to my instance. My CAMDE weight, when I was playing with the weight conditions, because the Journey Builder weight conditions are so much fun, has 5 records. How good. Now this will work with spaces as well. If I can find myself one that's got some spaces in it. No, I've got a lot of hyphens and things. I'm not sure if I've got any ones that have spaces though, unfortunately. Not on my screen right now, but that's okay. The best part is that this app has worked nicely. So we have made a very, very simple integration, which can count the number of rows in a data extension. So I hope these 2 sets of code, and again, the link is in your chat above, these 2 codes you can copy and paste for yourself and have a play with, have given you a few ideas of how you can use some of this really basic integration. Now, luckily for us, the Slack API here has a lot more features you can actually enable. We chose to use the slash commands. You can, of course, use the interactivities, the incoming webhooks, I believe is what I chose to use for the video. So again, go back and have a look at this video. I'll put the link into the chat here for you as well. This is one you can do, and it's a 5-minute video, which will show you how to build a API, which you can make into an SSJS activity to put into your automations in Automation Studio to notify your Slack channel when an automation has completed or failed. So you can do all this for yourself as well. So some very cool, very easy things to build here. And with that, that's the end of our workshop today. We've got plenty of time for further questions though. So I'd love to open it up. If you want to use the Zoom chat to ask any questions, we've got about a half hour of playroom now. So please, any questions you've got, we've got a bit of time to walk through stuff if you would like. If I scroll back up, there was one question that's pretty interesting, how to build an app. As a non-programmer, can you build up using this option? I'm not a programmer by title either. It's pretty easy stuff to build. As you saw from the code I've got in my public gists here, it's very, very easy code to write. This dad joke one, literally just a few lines of code. So it really is quite easy to use. The best part is we are using Cloud Pages as the endpoint for this solution. We are not using Heroku or AWS or other custom server endpoints. We're using Marketing Cloud. We're using a code resource in Cloud Pages. So it is free to use, there's no cost. Cloud resource, code resource pages at the moment still cost 0 impressions. That may change in the future, but for right now it is free. And because we are using Cloud Pages, we can also use APIs for Marketing Cloud. You can also use the programming languages like AMP and SSJS. So you can access all that good native stuff, such as the data extension row count. Now, absolutely right, Andrew. There is, in fact, already a dad joke Slack add-on that you can do. If we just go back to their main homepage, there is, in fact, yes, a Slack add-on. So this is doing a very similar thing, but rather than going from Slack to a Marketing Cloud page, which then calls the dad joke API, that add to Slack button goes directly from Slack to the dad joke API and back. So slightly different there because they've made their own integration, their own endpoint. So it is a little bit different. The reason why I talk you through this option is because, of course, you can click that button yourself and you can add your dad joke to Slack. But I wanted to show you today how to do things yourself, do things custom, and do things using these Cloud Page resources. Because this way you can make your own codes. And again, I'm sure you've got a few ideas now of what you could build, not just a row counter, but maybe an email search. You could do an email search. So type in, make a new slash command, is customer, slash is customer, and type in an email address. It returns back yes or no. Now, for your customer support team or for your marketing team on Slack, that could be really useful. If it returned back their customer ID, for example, that could make triaging customer complaints really quite easy. So there are so many cool things you could build with this. All right, another question I've got here is we can see that the Slack API allows for text parameters. If you want ones, can you pass more? You absolutely can. Have a look through the documentation. Again, the slash commands I've got here. You can go learn more. A nice little button there. And it takes you to the documentation on slash commands and it shows you how they work. It's dense. I'm not going to go through it all today, but it does talk you through how that payload works and how it sends it all through. All these parameters that come through as the various pieces. Text, there you go, is the part after the slash command itself, is the text command. Now there's more in here, so you can get more values if you want, including the user who sent stuff. So if you wanted to log who's been using the function, you could actually make a log. So it sends the user ID along with the payload, and you could log in a data extension how many times it was called, by who, from what channels. You could do all that. There's great documentation here, but for today, I just want to make it nice and simple. We just simply use the text function just to get all that stuff that's after the command, use that as the name to then search something from to return back our values. So again, you could do things way more complex. But like I said, documentation is great. Just press learn more and it loads up all this great info. All right. What other use cases? Well, as for use cases, like I said, dad jokes, great use case. But of course, searching for how many rows a DE has, very, very useful. If you have a master DE, a customer DE, your central DE, checking that regularly or having someone who can check it, especially if that's used for your contacts, it's your main contact DE, that can be super simple. That way you don't have to go in there and check it every time yourself. You can just slash and check it. Is customer, as I explained a couple of seconds ago, would be a great one to build as well, because you could do is customer and then search for email address. And it returns back all the subscriber keys of all the customers who that matches the email address for, just like your all subscriber search that you can do. You can do the subscribers, all subscribers, and do a search for email address. It could be the same thing, returns back all those records and all, not their entire details, of course, but just their subscriber key. Then there's no sensitive information being shared. And that way your team could find out really, really quickly if a complaint is a real customer or not. Bear in mind though, the more you start building these custom apps, you may want to look into security features. Now the app itself does have some additional signing information. So you do have some tokens and stuff down in here. I'll show this now because I'm going to delete my app in a second, but you do have all these things. Now you could, because these things do get sent through as part of your payloads, you can see here there's some token information. You could ensure that you always have a valid token that's been sent through. And that way no one can just guess your endpoint and maliciously get access to your data. So you probably could consider building some security by listening for certain things. You can also prevent certain users or only allow certain users by using the team, channel, or user IDs as whitelisted IDs. So only certain people can call certain functions. You can build this all in using your server-side JavaScript or AMP script on your cloud page. But yeah, definitely some great ways you can use this. I was talking with you earlier that my next project, which I'll try and build, will be a journey or automation dashboard inside of Slack. So anytime you can go /journeys or /automations and see which are the last 5 or last 10 that have been running, and some basic stats, and the ability to pause, cancel, or start. So imagine if a automation has failed, or you have to trigger it every day, /automations and press the start button. All from Slack, no logging in necessary. It'll be pretty useful in my books. So plenty of use cases, let your brains run wild. There'll be plenty of things you could do with this. The fact is, that's the methodology that you can use. The Slack API is beautifully written, a lot of flexibility, a lot of different features you can enable to achieve all kinds of different apps. All right, enjoying it so far, yep. Webhooks to connect. You probably could actually to connect to other services like Twilio. You definitely could, in fact. Again, I'm using a cloud page resource page as that app location. You probably, if you're doing this properly as a real app dev, you'd use AWS or Heroku or a similar app platform. You wouldn't be using a cloud page for this. We're kind of not using cloud pages for the right thing, if you know what I mean. But you definitely could. And you could then create integrations with other services like Twilio. You could also, if you wanted to, use the trigger SMS function. There is a triggered send definition for SMSs inside of Marketing Cloud, and you could send an SMS definition. So for example, you could make a /send SMS, and the first characters after that is the phone number, and everything after that is the message. And so you could then listen for that text payload and get that first response after the / command, which is the phone number, and puts that as the to deliver to phone number, and everything after that is the text to send. And so you could very easily make a simple send SMS all in Slack. Now, again, if you use that inside Marketing Cloud, you could do that in a cloud page, but because it does use the REST API, you still have to use your API keys. Ideally, though, if you're using this for scale, you would use Heroku or AWS as a proper app platform. But again, as your imagination runs wild, I'm sure you can think of many more use cases. And as you do, try it here first. If you think you're onto a winner, then maybe speak to your security team or an app dev and get that deployed properly in a real instance. But great questions so far from the group. You've got a few more minutes left, so any more questions? I invite you now to jump onto the chat.
While we wait for that, Cam, did you try inserting contacts into or subscribe any data into journeys from Slack? Have you tried any of those?
Not just yet. Again, all Slack is doing is calling this page with parameters. Right. So in theory, you don't even need Slack to do this. We're just using Slack as our execution point. Right. We could do this ourselves using parameters on our cloud page. You can make a form on a cloud page and do it all yourself. But rather than loading up this cloud page every time, we're choosing to use Slack as our front end. So rather than thinking about use cases as the Slack to Marketing Cloud integration, just think about things you would try and do on a cloud page or things you'd try and do in Postman using APIs. If you're doing these things in APIs, Postman, cloud pages, whatever, you can do it through Slack. Because this integration I'm showing you today is just the bridge you're building between these two platforms. It's showing you how to use, in this case, the / command to create your own function in your own app. And you can then listen to everything that's after the / as a parameter, a text parameter, to then do things with. Now, that's the simplest functions. Again, the / commands here are one of the simplest ones. There's workflows, there's interactivity, there's all kinds of other apps and features here, which you can all play with. The / command was just the easiest one to start with. So I hope this one's kind of seeded your creativity. It's seeded a few thoughts, what you could build with this. And you can start to play with it yourself. Again, because it is sending an API call, you can, if you wanted to, simply capture the form fields and output the values. So you can test this in Postman, you can test this on the cloud page, all kinds of ways you can test this to make sure it works the way you want it to. But if you can do it on a cloud page, then you can do it through this integration. Because again, all it's doing is just calling the cloud page.
Awesome, cool. So
yeah, inserting contacts, starting journeys, all that sort of stuff, absolutely. If you can do it through the Marketing Cloud interface or through Marketing Cloud APIs, you can build it here as well.
Perfect.
All right, any other questions? I've thrown some of my ideas out here. Anyone else got some cool ideas? You can send emails, trigger SMSs, start journeys, pause automations.
Subscriber status.
Yeah. Subscriber status, yep. Is customer, is subscriber. check the documentation, of course, in Salesforce Developer for the Marketing Cloud. If it's able to be used on the REST API, SOAP API, server-side JavaScript, AMP script, then of course, within this platform, you can do all the above. So check all those things out. If you've been looking for a new way to do a cool app idea, this might be your new interface to do it. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could take this app and you could deploy it further. There's the ability to actually distribute this app to other workspaces. I wouldn't do that, of course, because you are using your own personal or your business's marketing cloud instance here as your app, which is why I said, if you're going to do this properly, you probably need to use a real stack like AWS or Heroku, and you probably wouldn't want to use just SSJS or AMP script either. You'd make real API calls using the real REST APIs and so on. And when someone integrates with the app, they'd have to install it and use their OAuth tokens and provide that sort of stuff. So you could do it properly, and you could turn this into a real distributable app. It's a lot of fun things there. In the meantime, if there's anyone else who's got any questions, do check out my YouTube channel as well. The link I've already sent through. There's plenty of cool videos on here that I go through and just do cool demos and cool integrations and cool little workshops. I love Marketing Cloud. I like building apps and things in Marketing Cloud. So you'll see lots of fun little videos. I've gone through and done multi-factor, Slack integration, finding queries at target data extensions, cool stuff that can help out. Feel free to jump in and have a look at some of that content. And any limitations? Not so much, no. The good thing about this integration is that it's literally just calling the endpoint. So again, we're just using that / command. We've created our own custom command here. Just requests the URL. Exactly the same as if you hit this URL yourself in Chrome. Just requests it. But it's sending the request through as a post, as a HTTP post request, which means it contains additional values, all these extra values that it sends through here, as you can see, which you can see documented here as well, which means you have that additional information and context you can use, which is what we use today with that text value, everything after the / command, to search for the data extension. So for limitations, not so much. Cloud Pages are not a professional service or professional hosting service, so obviously not millions of calls, I wouldn't be doing that. But for a quick free playground to try this out on, it's definitely worth trying. All right, perfect. Well, I think that's me then. I'll hand the reins back over to Shibu. Thank you all. Hope you enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Cam. So team, if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to Cam. He's available on LinkedIn. What about Twitter? Cam, are you?
I do have a Twitter. I've never used it. So stay tuned when I send my first tweet.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, but yeah, he's quite active
LinkedIn
on
or YouTube video. Yep.
Yeah. So please do reach out to him, and do subscribe to his YouTube channel. Like, there's a lot of great content right now and upcoming in the future as well. So do follow that. So if there's nothing else, I think we can wrap up for today. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you more sessions in future. Thank you very much, Cam, for being a great speaker today. Helping share this wonderful insight with us on how you can use Slack and SFMC together. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have fun. And let us know on LinkedIn too. Post your successes on LinkedIn. Let us know what you create. I'd love to see your creations.